afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to 237 CAN 2021, a sports program that will be going on here on Spectrum Television throughout the 33rd edition of the TotalEnergies African Cup of Nations currently going on here in Cameroon. We will bring you guys in-depth analysis of all 52 games to be played, as well as updates of all 22 teams present here in Cameroon. You will see us live on your screens from Mondays to Fridays, as from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and on Saturdays and Sundays as from 10 to 11 a.m. Right here with me is Mr. Gilbert through a sports commentator and analysis. And as the game kickstarts today, we will be talking about the chances of Cameroon in front of a young but a very tactful Burkina Faso side. Good afternoon, Mr. Fru.
Good afternoon, Oni. Good afternoon to the millions of telespectators of Spectrum TV, the #1 TV channel in Cameroon and Central Africa. It's a real pleasure being on the panel today.
Okay, Mr. Fru. So what are your expectations ahead of Cameroon's game with Burkina Faso?
A win for Cameroon, of course. A win for Andrew and our teammates today, especially when we're playing at home, and especially when we're playing 50 years after we organized the first AFCON. That was in 1972, you remember. Many of us were not born by then, so it's a history-making event. And for Cameroon to be present today, 50 years later, it's a big event. And we can't start such an event, again, in a new stadium, Olembe, a beautiful pitch of that nature. We can't start there, with a defeat, So it's a must-win game for Team Cameroon in the presence of Head of State, President Biya, and all top government officials.
Okay, we will be getting into the conversation proper right after presenting the two teams that will be opening the 33rd edition of the TotalEnergies African Cup of Nations. I'm talking none other than the indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Stallions of Burkina Faso. Like I said, at 5 p.m. at the Olembe Stadium, Cameroon will take on the Stallions of Burkina Faso for the third time in the group stage of the African Cup of Nations. The first was in 1998 in Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso, when Cameroon edged 1-0, and the second was in 2017 when both teams had a 1-1 tie. Now, what will be the fate of Cameroon in front of a tactful but young Burkina Faso team that wowed the entire continent at the World Cup qualified game that we will be talking about right after looking at both teams? So I would like, before we get to the presentation of both teams, yesterday, during the pre-match press conference, the captain Bertrand Traoré was talking about some players that had COVID-19 testing, and you could see that he found out the fact that the process that led to the test, and that a team that he suspected was from the host nation Cameroon came on Friday in the night by 10 p.m. and carried out tests, and 5 key players have been tested positive. So what do you think about that allegation he made? And also, I would like to also say that yesterday as well, CAF said that the team that came for the testing was not from Cameroon, but rather an independent medical facility. So the host nation has nothing to do with that. But I want us to talk about what did you have in mind when you when you heard his statement, Bertrand Traoré, during the pre-match conference?
No, I saw a frustrated Bertrand Traoré, especially at the point in time when you have a player like Edmond Tapsoba. He's one of the best defenders in Africa. He's playing for Bayern Leverkusen. And, the first round of the Bundesliga, Tapsoba was ranked as the top defender of the Bundesliga. And when you have a player of that caliber not being present for such a big game against 5 times champions of Africa, and then you have some worries. I understood him. He was worried. He was frustrated. But then he had to understand that, as you said, Oni, that the tests were not carried out by, the Cameroon medical officials. The tests were carried out by an independent laboratory set up by the Confederation of African Football. That's what should be mentioned. That it was CAF that came up with the testing process, not Cameroon. And everything was done, and you had 5 of these players and 2 trainers coach, Kamu Malu, and the assistant Nana, who were tested positive of COVID. So that's what they had to understand. So in their opinion, Bertrand Traoré and teammates, I think at this point in time that there's some sort of manigance against Team Burkina Faso in favor of Cameroon. I don't think that's the case. If the tests were carried out by, medical officials, they would have whispered something of that nature. That's not what happened, So that's it. And besides, Bertrand Traoré has to understand one thing. I want to let you know something, Oni. At times, teams make a lot of mistakes. You can't prepare for a big tournament to be played on African soil, and then you go to Doha in Qatar to have your players set. We all agree today that there's this COVID-19, which is, an opponent to everybody. And when you're going for such a big show, you don't take players moving from one end to the other. The fact that they left Ouagadougou, went to Doha in Qatar for setup and everything, to come back to Cameroon in Central Africa, I think the path, the long track they took would have been, must have hampered in the COVID-19 positive results we're having today. If they had left Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou, and flew directly into Yaoundé, they would have had less cases of COVID. I want to take the case of teams like Ethiopia. Have you heard of any COVID case there? Zimbabwe, Cameroon, others. These are teams that flew directly into Cameroon. Never had contacts with one or two teams. When you heard from Coach Tony Conceição, he said, we didn't play some of these friendly games because we were afraid of having more COVID cases. What does it serve a nation? If you're going for friendly games and then at the end of the day, some of the key players are not rated to take part in the competition, they are tested COVID positive, it becomes a big blow to the team. And that's what they suffered. Moving from one end to the other, flying back to Cameroon, they got a lot of COVID cases, in their ranks. So I think he should accept it. He shouldn't throw blames on that. But then in the latest, information we received this morning, Lazare Bansey, the president of the Burkinabe Football Federation, said that they brought in medical doctors from Ouagadougou to go in for the test. And he said that all these officials, players tested, are negative. And they've invited CAF this morning to repeat the test. That's what has been said. So we're expecting CAF to see what they can do. All I'm praying is that they should be total transparency. There shouldn't be some sort of conspiracy against Burkina Faso. We are sure of the lands. We are sure of the players we're having. Again, we are playing at home. We shouldn't beat them and they tell us, no, yesterday you guys brought our key players out, the Tapsobas and the others didn't play the game, and that's why you defeated us. No, let everybody present, let all forces be brought together, and let's see who emerges champion today.
Yes, let all forces be brought together and let's see who emerges champion. I would like us to talk about, because you mentioned Antonio Conceição not playing any pre-AFCON game, and I would like us to come back on that situation. Will that affect the Lions' performance? Because we know Burkina Faso played against Gabon and they won 3-0. So will that affect Cameroon's performance? Because Harold Mukudi and other teammates are just back from injury, and we don't know the state of the team yet. So how confident are you with this Lions team? Can they do it without a pre-AFCON game?
Yeah, of course they can do it. In as much as going for a major tournament of such without any AFCON friendly, it looks a time. It doesn't sound normal. But again, I want to bring up this COVID issue, this COVID enemy. It's an enemy to everybody. When you have COVID as a big enemy, you are watchful. It serves you right, if you go playing the friendlies and then at the end of the day you're told that you won't have a Zambo Anguissa, a Muminga Maleu, a Vincent Baka, because they're all tested positive, it becomes, delicate. And Conceição was clear that I didn't go in for the friendlies because I wanted to stay away from COVID enemy. That's what he said, and I want to believe him. When you look at the first round of the tournament, you have 24 teams are going in, and from the 24 teams, you have 8 that will stay behind, which means we're having the first 2 of the 6 groups being qualified, and then we're going to take the next 4. The 4 best that will be joining the 12, getting to 16 for the rounds of 8. So you see, so the first round of the competition, I don't find it all that complicated for Team Cameroon. The only difficulty you might have is not being first of the group, because when you're first of the group, you stay back where you are and you wait for your opponent to join you where you are. That's the only difficulty you might have. But so Conceição knows that as the tournament kickstart, you'll be playing 1 or 2 games. The first game will be like, the first 2 games will be like, getting the friendlies and getting your boys COVID free. That's the objective that was set up. We had friendlies that were programmed against, I think, Zimbabwe and others that were cancelled. They cancelled due to the COVID, which stands as an enemy. And that is what I'm afraid of, Lenny, because we might have a competition where at the final you're told that a Sadio Mane is not present. If Senegal is playing, a Mohamed Salah is not present for the final. You're having a Zambo Agisa who is not rated for the final because they're all tested positive. Team managers should watch out. They should be careful. The time has come when we don't allow people to get into the den and out and all those things. We restrict movements of people in and out of the den so that the players stay without being infected COVID positive.
Okay, so I would like us to get the presentation of both teams that will be opening the TotalEnergies African Cup of Nations today at the Olembe Stadium. That is the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Stallions of Burkina Faso. Right here on your screen is the effervescence in Yaoundé ahead of the game that is to be played at 5 p.m. today at the Olembe Stadium. The crowd have all come out to purchase their tickets and also get access into the Olembe Stadium. What can you say about this? Because, you know, let's say weeks to the African Cup of Nations, we didn't see this much of mobilization. People were still doubtful with the AFCON go on, what is going to happen. But, you know, with just this week or like the end of last week and this week, everything just kicked off in a very high spirit. In Douala, you could see different places that had been set up in the colors of the African Cup of Nations. To go there in Yaoundé this morning, a lot of people crowded in front of the Olembe Stadium. What can you say? Were Cameroonians hungry for this tournament?
Of course, 50 years later, Lenny, we hosted it the last time in 1972, and today we're in 2022. 50 years. Many of them standing there were not born by then. So it's a history-making event. Everybody wants to write his name in the history books. I was present at Olembe that day. You know, for the kickstart of the 33rd edition of the AFCON. That's why I find people running today to the different ticketing stores where they can pick up their tickets and get into the stadium. Again, remember that before then you had one or two political issues where some political leaders were some sort of being against the issue. Like there were some ropes being pulled here and there. And recently you had one of the main political figures in Cameroon, Professor Maurice Kamto, came out and invited Cameroonians to feel the AFCON fever. That is an issue of all Cameroonians. Let them go to the stadium and watch. So now people have understood that it's no more an issue of the CPDM, the Cameroon Renaissance movement or whatsoever. It's an issue of Cameroon. Cameroon writing its name in the history books, and everybody wants to do that. Again, there was that issue of people having their vaccines before going to purchase their tickets. People got scared at the beginning. They came to to surmount that effect and then running for the vaccines and getting their tickets for this big game. It's a big game, and everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to say, I was present the day the Lions played their first game on the 9th of January 2022.
Indeed, the 9th of January 2022, Cameroon is hosting her second African Cup of Nations. Let's go look at the two teams, the Stallions of Burkina Faso and the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon, who will be playing the AFCON opener today.
Cameroon and Burkina Faso will lock horns on Sunday, January 9, 2022, at the Olembe Stadium in Yaoundé for the opening game for the Africa Cup of Nations TotalEnergies 2021. Both countries, which are set in Group A of the tournament, have named a 28-man squad each to battle it out come Sunday. Cameroon, host country of the tournament, with head coach Antonio Conceição, the Portuguese has retained 28 players from the 40 pre-selected earlier. His 28-man squad include 4 goalkeepers, 9 defenders, 7 midfielders and 8 forwards. It's worth recalling that the Cameroon squad is headed for its 20th participation in the Africa Cup of Nations tournament and will be bidding for a 6th title. Meanwhile, their opponent Burkina Faso, with head coach Kamou Mala, will be going in with 4 goalkeepers as well, 9 defenders, 6 midfielders plus 10 forwards. Absent in 2019, Burkina Faso want to forget the lost Nations Cup tournament in Egypt and have no effort spared. Apart from their quality, the Burkina Faso squad also aims to improve on its mental approach, having brought to the tournament very young generation players. As for Cameroon, after exiting the tournament in the round of 16, 3 years ago, its ultimate goal for this AFCON is to scoop the continent's most coveted trophy for a sixth time.
La première tentative, et bon, le jeu se poursuit et fallait bien se détendre.
As Cameroon faces Burkina Faso, I would like us to know that this will be their third confrontation at the African Cup of Nations. The first was in 1998 when Cameroon won 1-0, and the second was a 1-all draw in 2017. Cameroon is making her 20th appearance, and in this 20th appearance, Cameroon has won 5 times, has occupied the 3rd and 4th place 1 time each, and also finished as runner-ups, 2-time runner-up, while Burkina Faso is making her 12th appearance. They have been eliminated at the group stage 8 times, and they have reached the semi-finals 3 times, and their best feat is the finals in 2013. So I want us to talk about the absence of key players and how it can affect the squad, the Stallion squad, in the face of Cameroon. She would say it's, in as much as we don't want an unfortunate thing to happen, like you say, every team has to be leveled up, so it's a fair and square game. But how is the absence of these key players going to affect the Stallion squad?
No, for the Stallions, the big absence is that of Edmond Tapsoba. If the results are confirmed, as being positive. If Tapsoba is absent, it's a big blow to them. Because when you look at the team, they count on players like Edmond Tapsoba instead of buying Leverkusen, players like Isufa Dayo of RS Bekan. You have players, the Tapsoba brother Abdul Faisal Tapsoba, who plays for Standard of Liège. Equally, you have a player like Bertrand Traoré, Aston Villa man. Those are the key players of the squad. And if Tapsoba is absent, there's equally Abdul is absent. If Abdul is absent, is tested positive, the test is confirmed, then it's going to be a big blow to them. So they've come with their squad. And Abdul Faisal Tapsoba, former ASEC Mimosa player, transferred to Standard of Liège. The guy is doing a wonderful job. He was one of the top scorers of the qualifiers of the AFCON, and of course World Cup Qatar qualifiers 2022. So if a guy like this is present, I don't see why they should be crying out their lungs that some players are absent. If you have Abdul playing by Aston Villa man, Bertrand Traoré, you might have the spoils coming against Cameroon today. So it's going to be we need to have a watchful defense line. Michael Gandry and whosoever playing there, is Jerome and Gwene playing, they should be very attentive, just like they did against Cote d'Ivoire when they held down Sébastien Haller, Max Alain Gradel and others. They should be very, very attentive. They focused on the game, stop Abdul from getting the spoils, because it's a striker that has a force. The least minute you are not focused, he gets the goal. So it's all about that, Lenny. I mean, we need, there's just no big absence. I'm praying that Edmond is present for this game, because the Burkina Faso will take that as a big pretext that you beat us because Edmond Tapsoba was not present. One of the top defenders at the Champions League with Bayern Leverkusen wasn't present. If we had our player playing this game, the Abaka Vincent and the others wouldn't have gotten into our defense line to get the spoils against us. That is my fear. If not, everything said, then the game is going to be a game without any trouble or whatsoever, and then we're having the supporters going back home pleased with what they watched.
Now, I want us to look at the Indomitable Lions squad, because we have 28 players in this tournament due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's important to note that CAF has made a new rule that teams can have up to 5 substitutions this tournament due to the coronavirus pandemic. And another CAF rule this edition is a team must have at least 11 players who have tested negative to the COVID-19 pandemic. Those that do not have up to 11 players who have tested positive or negative to the COVID-19 pandemic will forfeit the game 2-0 in favor of their opponent. And if a goalkeeper is not among the 11 players COVID-19 free, a player is allowed to take the place of the goalkeeper. That means the game must go on. Now, I want to ask about the Lions squad. Do you think, because we've seen Antonio Conceição come up with so many formations throughout the World Cup qualifiers, his more tacticality has been different in every game. Now, do you think he can really build up a very strong, more indomitable Lions side to face any opponent in these African Cup of Nations? Because we have teams like Egypt, we have teams like Algeria, we have even Cape Verde.
Exactly. The Blue Sharks.
Obviously, the Blue Sharks are not here they are not here to just, it's not a walk in the park. Yeah. It's going to be a difficult group for Cameroon. So do you think Antonio Conceição has known this team well to be able to build up a very tactical side that will come strongly against any opponent?
Conceição has been there. He played the qualifiers for the AFCON. He played the qualifiers for the World Cup with Cameroon. So it's a squad that he masters so well. And we look at him, he has about 5 players who have been constant in all the games. Even though the absence of the injury suffered by Aromo Kudzi before the last call-up against Malawi, the Flames of Malawi and the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire, we would have still had the central defense line, Aromo Kudzi and Michael Ngandengandri playing all the matches. But you've had, from the flanks, the defense flanks, the absences, the irregularities of Fire Collins, Olivier Mbaizo, Oyongo, Ambrose, Bitolo, No Tolo, and a host of others. But if not, you could always count in the goalpost if an Andre Onana, who was out because he was he had 1 or 2 worries with with FIFA, where he was sanctioned for over 10 months. He was kept out of the pitch. If not, you would have had an Andre Onana all the time being in the goalpost. When he suffered that, Davis Epasi came and he convinced us it was up to task. So you have about 5 or 6 players who have been constant throughout. Andre Onana in the goalpost, Arol Mukudi, Michael Ngandegandri. When you got to the midfield, Zambo Anguissa was always present each time he was called up at the attack line. Vincent Boubacar and Mumi Nicolas Ngamalu. Those were about 6 players that were always constant for the games. But today, looking at what we had in the game against Cote d'Ivoire, I won't be surprised if it brings back 90% of the squad. Why not 100% of the squad that played against the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire? Because that remains his only reference game. The games we had against the Flames of Malawi, the games we had against the Mambas of Mozambique and other squads played were not reference games. And so the game against Cote d'Ivoire remains a reference game. You can't be playing against Sebastien Haller, Eric Bailly of Manchester United, Max Alain Gradel, Wilfried Zaha, and all those. You have Frank Kessie of Milan AC, and you have boys beating the squad, and then you don't put back those boys for a crucial game against Burkina Faso. It is out of question. Tony Conceição is going to have himself blamed if he brings out any of the elements that played that game in this game today, and if he's beaten. So people asking a lot of questions, the pressmen and all those will point fingers at him. Sir, why didn't you bring up the same squad that played against Cote d'Ivoire? So in my opinion, if I were in his shoes, I would have an Andre Onana in the goalpost, and the defense now have a Michael Ngandengandri of La Gantoise, and of course, Jerome Ongene, who plays for Red Bull Salzburg, in Austria. Besides, he's playing the Champions League, and he's in the next phase of the Champions League. I have a Fire Collins Goran, who plays for Standard of Liège, playing at the right back hand of the defense line. Bring up Enol Tolo, who plays for Sanders in the USA. Why not? Or Enzo Ebose for Angers, at that defense line in midfield of having an Umguet Samuel. We saw him against Cote d'Ivoire. He was present, in all the duels that came against Frank Kessie. I have an Umguet, a Martin Honla, Frank Zambo Anguissa, and an attack line. I could be having either Obaka Vincent or Chupo Eric Maxime Moting, at the front line, and then the flanks I will be using Carl Toko Ekambi, the top scorer of Europa League, and of course Nicolas Mumi Ngamalu of Young Boys of Bern, Switzerland.
Okay, now that you talk about players, I want us to go look at the 28 Lions squad that has been selected for the African Cup of Nations with Makedality.
La Belle Sawa chante pour tout le Cameroun. Ebola munyenge didi ele no e omuni mundie Cameroun e di ebiso ni ngando e Gadi mabotonde gadi moba ayo Abele ngebonge Gadi mabotonde gadi moba ayo Abela sawa ngebonge Abela sawa ngebonge Abele ngebonge Abele Nyebome, Abela Sawa Nyebome. Pardon, dis-moi qui va gagner. Les Lions vont gagner. Pardon, dis-moi qui va gagner. Les Lions vont gagner. Allez les Lions, vous allez gagner, oh. 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 Ouais, oh ouais, oh ouais. Oh ouais, oh ouais, oh ouais. Oh ouais, oh ouais, oh ouais. Oh ouais, oh ouais, oh ouais. Qui n'est pas venez jouer, venez danser, mettez-vous au pas, tout le monde au pas. Si c'est la belle, ça va jouer. Ayama, hey, hey, hey. Ayama, oh oh oh, Ayama, hey, 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 Ayama. Le Burkina Faso, on va les mettre au pas. Le Cap-Vert, on va les mettre au pas. L'Éthiopie, on va les mettre au pas. Au Cameroun, ça va se jouer. Ayama, hey, hey, hey. Ayama, oh oh oh, oh Ayama, hey, 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 Ayama. Mettez-vous à, mettez-vous et, mettez-vous à, tout le monde a, tout le monde au pas, tout le monde a, tout le monde au pas.
For clarity, this program 237 CAN 2021 is not replacing your political program setup though. However, it is on because we're starting with the African Cup of Nations, and that's why we're on today. But like I said, we will be on your screens from Mondays to Fridays as from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and on Saturdays and Sundays from 10 to 11 a.m. Now, we're still talking about the indomitable lions and the stallions of Burkina Faso. And with me on board is a sports analyst and commentator, Fruche. Now, I want us to look at something really, really important, and that is the peculiarity of each team. What can make them sail through? Because we also have Burkina Faso. There's this thing, Burkina Faso, regardless of what the score is, if they hold an all-time game, it's still going to be in their favor. Exactly. Because Cameroon is hosting the tournament. They have a host of people, a lot of in fact, the fans are all in the stadiums to support them, and they expect to win. So even if Burkina Faso goes a goalless game with Cameroon, they still are not losing anything. So what do you think both teams, what particularity, what do they have that can make them favorites in this encounter?
Yeah, first of all, I want to bring out the different, standings. Ratings when it comes to this competition for the two teams. Remember, we are in this is the 20th participation for Cameroon, and we've won the tournament 5 times out of Cameroon. In 1984, we did it in Côte d'Ivoire. In 1988, we went to Casablanca in Morocco, brought back the trophy. In 2000, we traveled to Nigeria in Surulere, the boiling Surulere Stadium, got JJ Okocha and teammates down, came back to Yaoundé with the trophy. In 2002, we traveled to Bamako in Mali, brought back the trophy. In 2017, when nobody expected, we brought back the trophy. And remember, history never tells lies. History might repeat itself. The first game we had in 2017 was against Burkina Faso, you remember? And that game was a draw game, a 1-1 tie between the Stallions of Burkina Faso and the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. And you see that game was played in Gabon, in Central Africa. Today, Cameroon and Burkina Faso are playing, a crucial game in Central Africa, and again the first game of the AFCON, in Central Africa. This time around at home, you see. So we're playing in Central Africa and playing at home. Are these not good signs, Lenny, that we're marching towards, grabbing the trophy on the 6th of February when the AFCON rings its bells, getting everyone back home? That is it. The stuff is we have 2 squads that have, just strengths and weaknesses. That's what should be mentioned. And we need to focus on the opportunities and the threats that could be coming, from the strengths and weaknesses. Burkina Faso, when you have a player like Bertrand Traoré, who alone brings down a Manchester United when Aston Villa is playing. When you have a Bertrand Traoré who's able to pull down a Chelsea defense line, you get scared when you're meeting such a player. When you have an Abdul Faisal Tapsoba, who plays for Standard Liège, who is the top scorer of the qualifier stage, you get scared each time you're meeting him. When you have an Edmond Tapsoba who plays for Bayern Munich, Bayern Leverkusen, when you have Issoufou Dayo of RS Berkane, these are players that you should watch out with. But again, they have a weakness. Burkina Faso, I've watched the games. You ask me why didn't they pick up a qualification ticket for the World Cup Qatar 2022? When you have a team that's unable to manage, the different playing days, it grows complicated. When you have a team that's only powerful when it plays against tougher squads. Do you know mighty Algeria, the Desert Foxes of Algeria, were not able to beat Burkina Faso on the way and return leg? So that gets us scared that we play against a squad that knows how to play against the big guns. You see?
Indeed.
Yeah, so Burkina Faso today is going to be a very complicated game. And if we, in my opinion, I won't tell you lies, Lenny, I'm praying for a draw game in this. It's going to be complicated because when you find left footer, Bertrand Traoré, former young man, and Aston Villa man today, you get scared because a free kick, a few meters to the goalpost is dangerous against Cameroon. Any opening for him and the others is dangerous against Cameroon. Again, for Cameroon, you have decisive players. When you watch the game, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, and you saw what the Zambouangi Stars, the Martin Hongla, the Baka Vincent, Michael Gandenganjui, and the others did, and then you have yourself to say, no, we have a Cameroon squad that's reincarnating the spirit of 2017, because remember we went for 2017 without any key players. We went with the Christian Bassogox and others were no names, the Adolf Tekes and others were no names by then, but they wrote history, and today they're giving them the name they deserve. We can bring down this team, but it's going to be very, very complicated. We need to negotiate this game well. And then wait for the Waliaks of Ethiopia and the Blue Sharks, who are also, a nightmare to Cameroon. Remember, in 2013, we didn't qualify for the AFCON because the Blue Sharks stopped us from doing that. And in the qualifying stage of the AFCON, we were paired in the same group. We played the goalless tie in Yaoundé, traveled to Praia, were beaten by the Blue Sharks 3-1. So it's really complicated, yeah. So we really need to pick up at least a point in this game, get the Waliaks of Ethiopia down, and then, negotiate another tough game against the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde.
So I would like to also make known the point that the Stallions of Burkina Faso missed out in the 2019 African Cup of Nations, and this time around they did not make it to the World Cup playoffs. Do you think that would be like a motivational factor now that they are coming to Cameroon? And remember, in 1998 Cameroon defeated Burkina Faso right at home. So are they coming back for a revenge?
They're coming for revenge. They are coming to show to the world, to Africa, that they're a big squad. When you have a team that pulls a draw against mighty Desert Foxes of Algeria, and then it sends a warning to all those coming to meet her, So that's it. Say they're coming to when they flew into Yaoundé, they told us they came to take the trophy back to Ouagadougou. That is what they said. President Lazare Bansé, who is the president of the Burkinabe FA, said, "Nous sommes au Cameroun pour rentrer le trophy." They are clear on that. They've never won the AFCON. The last time they got almost grabbing it, it was in 2013 when they were beaten at the final by Nigeria, 1 goal to nothing. So this time around, they believe with the Bertrand Traoré. By then you had the Jonathan Pitropa, Aristide Bansé, Charles Kabore. They had elements that could take the trophy back home. They never did that, and today they're having the Tapsoba brothers. They're having a Bertrand Traoré. They believe with the strengths, the forces they have, they can take the trophy home. And it starts by sending a warning to all teams, all potential, all future opponents. It starts by trashing Cameroon today on home soil in front of top government officials, in front of the over 40,000 fans who will be coming to push the Lions to victory. They are determined. They want to bring down Cameroon, and Coach Tony Conceição should really watch out. He should really watch out. We should remain, the Lions should remain focused from minute 1 to minute 90. They should remain focused, because the least minute they are not focused, the least second they go kidding, it becomes dangerous for us.
Indeed, beating Cameroon at the newly constructed Olympus Stadium sends a strong warning to all opponents that will be facing the Stallions of Burkina Faso in this tournament. Now, a trio of Algerian referees will officiate the match between Cameroon and Burkina Faso. We have Mustafa Gobal, who is the main or central referee. We have Mukrane Gourari and being his assistant, as well as Abdelhaik Chali, and the fourth referee is an Egyptian, Moumoud El Bana. The video assistant referee is a Moroccan, Abdil Zurak, and Zakari Brin C. It is important to note that all 52 games will be played with a video assistant referee. So what do you think about this new innovation, the video assistant referee coming in at the group games right up to the finals? Do you think it's going to help limit, this kind of situations where, let me just take, for example, the Ghana and the South African case. So exactly. Is it going to help, limit such cases in this tournament?
The stuff is CAF have come out, they've come up really with the intentions of having real champions, and it goes by having the video assistant referee coming in to do the right job at the right time. You get the point? Because for the past years, remember in 2000, we won the AFCON, on a lot of, question marks, because this penalty that was scored by Victor Ikpeba. They got the woodwork of the goalkeeper and came back, and there was a goal, but it wasn't validated. By then, if you had the VAR, it would have been pointed. That's it. So the video assistance referee, in my opinion, it's it's welcome, and it's going to limit injustice. It's going to get us to having the right champions and all those things. And when the referees are doing the jobs, they'll take into consideration that the little mistake made, the video assistant referee is going to point it out, and it discredits them and all those things. Because imagine you point a penalty spot when it's on the penalty once, twice, and the video assistant referee comes contesting all those things. Becomes discrediting to you, the referee. So the referees themselves, in their mindset, they'll be coming up with the issue of doing their job rightly, so that they are not each time called up for repairs by the video assistance referee. It's very important to note that, Lenny. So in my opinion, it's good. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful initiative. It shows that Africa is growing from step to step, and we're finally going to meet up with where the UEFA, the CONMEBOL, the CONCACAF, and others have gotten to. It is important for us to get there. You remember, Europeans are running a competition as a little competition, a small tournament, as Jurgen Klopp said. Yes. Spalletti and others said that in Africa there's a small tournament organized that's going to be organized in Cameroon somewhere. So we need to show to the world that our tournament is a small one, as they've been saying. It's a big one, it's gotten places, and it goes by the video assistant referee and all the referees concerned by this competition to do their job the right way.
Okay, talking about the innovations this year, CAF has increased the prize money. The winner will be walking away with $5 million. That is an increment of over $500,000. And the runner-ups will walk away with $2.75 million, and that is over $250,000 increase, and a semi-finalist will be walking away with $2.2 million. That is $200,000 increase, and the quarter-finalists will be walking away with $1.17 million, a $175,000 increase. Now, Cameroon has won this cup over 5 times, like we said, 1994, 1998, and 2000, 2001, 2017. Let's go look at the impressive run of the Indomitable Lions in the African Cup of Nations.
With 5 African Cup of Nations trophies, 20 appearances, 1 Olympic gold medal, and over 7 World Cup qualification, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon are truly a force to reckon with in the game of football. The country of Roger Milla, who made her debut in the African Cup of Nations in 1970, will be hosting the tournament for the second time in 2022. The very first was in 1972, where Douala and Yaoundé danced to the tunes of soccer.
Je déclare ouvertes les compétitions comptant pour la 8e Coupe d'Afrique des Nations de football.
Then considered as underdogs, the Lions demonstrated their untamable nature more than a decade after their debut by lifting the AFCON trophy in 1884 in Ivory Coast and 1988 in Algeria against same opponent, the Super Eagles of Nigeria. This country, who was riding on the wings of victory then, stunned the entire world by being the first ever African nation to reach the quarterfinals in the World Cup, keeping powerhouse nations like Argentina, Colombia, Romania at bay.
Higuita seems to want to get involved. I do not believe it. He's thrown the chances away now. That's it. 2-0, Roger Miller, and that is always the danger.
Their brilliant performance in the 2000 Olympic Games and back-to-back win in the AFCON cemented their title as indomitable. Names like Roger Milla, François Omambik, Thomas Kono, Patrick Mboma, Samuel Eto'o, and many others resonate in the hearts and minds of many for flying the green, red, yellow flag high in any competition. Cameroon lifted her fifth trophy in 2017 and is gunning for her sixth in 2022. Their impressive run in these different tournaments is thanks to their strength, resilience, and untamable spirit exercised on the pitch.
An untamable spirit is that key factor that the indomitable Lions always exercise on the pitch. Now, I want us to talk another interesting thing as we prepare, await what I call, the Clash of Titans at the Olympic Stadium. I want us to talk about the new CAF rule, the new 5 substitutions that each team can benefit from. How is it going to help the Stallion side if and only if we have players like Edmond Totuba that do not test negative to COVID-19? So how would these 5 substitution rule help these teams?
Yeah, when you have players playing for 90 minutes, and with the COVID that's coming, the COVID enemy is a big enemy to everyone. And with the COVID enemy coming up, everybody, each team goes into the competition with a lot of reserves when it comes to training sessions and others. You could maybe prepare 1 or 2 training sessions, somewhere, somehow, but you get scared that going there and all those things will, invite COVID into the deal, and then you are frustrated. As we said earlier, you find a team, the Lions going for the AFCON without any friendly game. You see, so physically, it gives a blow to the teams, when it comes to the preparations. And that's why CAF have thought it wise, first of all, to switch from 23 players to 28 when it comes to the selections. And then again, when it comes to the substitutions, they've switched from 3 to 5 for each game. It's good because it gives the opportunity for players to look restless, to give room to those who feel fit to play. And again, most of these players do not only play in the national teams, they equally play at club levels, where you have at the end of each season or within a short period of time, you have a player having over 25-30 matches being played, and at times these players need rest so that they don't suffer from injuries. You see, these players are expected back in their clubs. Immediately they leave the AFCON, they'll be flying back into their clubs, and they'll have maximum 3-4 days to get set and start playing and all those things. So CAF know, and all those know. Equally, when you watch the UEFA Cup, it was equally 5. They brought in 5. Even the CONCACAF, the CONMEBOL, and the others, they're equally on 5. So, and as I said, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, Jerome Mosengo Omba, and the CAF officials want to meet up with the standards of the CONCACAF and the UEFA and the CONMEBOL. That's why they are meeting up with the standards of substitutions and selections and all those things. They're meeting up with all these criteria for teams to get up to the standards of all these European clubs you have today.
Okay, now I want us to also look at something really interesting, and that is the indomitable lions. You know, the prize that was promised to them. If in fact a player will walk away with over 100 million francs if they reach the finals of the African Cup of Nations. Now, do you think that money is going to serve as a motivation to this squad? Because earlier on today, I was watching like a review of the 1984 African Cup of Nations with the ex-players, and I heard they said one of the players mentioned that one reason that they were so motivated back then was because the president had promised to give them 100,000 if, you know, it shows how times have changed.
Exactly.
Back then, they were so motivated with 100,000, and now we're talking about 100 million CFA francs. So do you think this money, how do you think this money will help boost them as they tend to face all these teams?
I listened to Emmanuel Lemba. He was the captain of the Indomitiable Lions of Cameroon in 1972. He said they were given 25,000 francs. When they got to the semi-final, because we beat the semi-final by Congo, they got 25,000 francs, and
I can just imagine the jubilation back then.
They were happy. And today you're talking of over 100 million francs if you win. In 2017, it was almost something. The Basogoks and others went back home with over 100 million francs. But again, remember, times have changed. Things have changed a lot this time around. You have players who now play in bigger clubs in Europe, where they're paid huge sums of money. They're paid in dollars and euros, you know. And when they come back home, this is nothing to them. You have a player like Christian Mugamba Sogok, who earns a lot of money, huge sums of money in China. You have players like Maxim Choupo-Moting, who play for Bayern Munich. You know, at the Champions League, they have bonuses at the club level, all those things. So these players, all this, the huge sums of money you're giving them, it's not news to them. You know, it doesn't baffle them in any way. You get the point. So what I'm worried at is that this was an opportunity. You know, this was, you know, a forum for Tony Conceição. Why not to bring in 3 or 4 local players in the den to help them? Why not move out of poverty after the AFCON? If I brought in an Ashu Keredo, you know, to playing for a Fala Kongep,
very impressive. Exactly, in the African Nations Championship.
Yeah. If you had brought in Ashu Credo and he goes back home with over 100 million francs, it's not a big thing for him. If you had brought in a Samuel Kotter of Apejason, who is true now, he's really signed for Malmo in Sweden, it would have been a big thing for him. If you had brought in, you know, a Samuel Len, a Renin Dizonewo, and others, and they go back home with 100 million francs. It would have been, you know, poverty, you know, it would have alleviated poverty in one or the other in their families and in their neighborhoods. But when you bring in the Choupo-Motings, we're used to earning such sums of money, the Carl Toko Ikambi, the Andre Ona, who just signed for Inter of Milan, and you know how much he did, and then you're giving me 100 million francs, it's no news to him. You get the point. So yes, that's the only worry we're having, that we have players who are used to living such levels, earning such sums of money, bringing them to have that again, it's no news to them. It doesn't excite them in any way and all those things. You bring in 3, 4 local players into the squad who go back home and, you know, they keep their families and friends out of poverty.
Okay, so it's important to note, like I said, Cameroon has won this trophy 5 times, 1984, 1988. We have 2000, the 2002, 2017, and hopefully 2021. Indeed, and that is possible because, Coach, Mr. Fru, you said it, that it's possible because they have the right squad, and if they can put the right team together, the starting 11, the winning squad, then no problem. Why not take it? You know, and Cameroon will become the 9th nation if it wins to host the tournament and win at home, right? So 8 nations have done that so far, and if Cameroon lifts this trophy this time around, she will become the 9th country to have hosted the tournament and won this tournament. And for Burkina Faso, the team has never lifted an AFCON trophy despite their 11th appearance. Like I said, this will be their 12th participation in the African Cup of Nations, but they have never lifted the AFCON trophy. And their best feat is in 2013 when they finished as runner-ups they were defeated by Nigeria 1-0. Now, as everyone is so excited about this tournament, we decided to find out the interest of Cameroonians during this period and what they look forward to come February 6. Now, while we'll wait for that, I want us to learn about some AFCON facts, and that is just 3 teams have won the title when they debuted. That is Egypt in 1957, Ghana in 1963, and South Africa in 1996. Egypt has hosted the AFCON more than any other tournament, any other country. That is 5 times. The first in 1959, 1974, 1986, 2006, and 2019. 8 teams have won the tournament as host. That is Egypt in 1959, 1986, 2006, while Ghana and Cameroon, Ghana in 1963 and 78, and Ethiopia in 1962. We also have Sudan in 1970 and Nigeria in 1980. We have Algeria as well in 1996, South Africa and Tunisia in Algeria in 1990, and South Africa in 1996, and Tunisia in 2004. Talking about Tunisia, Tunisia is a country which records the most consecutive appearance in the final phase of the African Cup of Nations. That is 15 times from 1994 to 2001. With Egypt holds the record for most AFCON appearances, that is 25, and Nigeria holds the record for the most number of times it has reached the last stage of the competition. That is, they have been top 3 for 15 times, 3 times winners, 4 times finalists, 8 times third place. So they have one of the best records. They have been there in the tournament. Despite their participation, they have 3 times. They have been 3 times winners, 4 times finalists, 8 times third. What a great record by the Nigerian squad. If not for the unfortunate free kick by Riyad Mahrez, they would have made it to the final. Okay, now let's get the interest of Cameroonians as the tournament kickstarts in Cameroon 50 years after the first in 1972.
Pour ravir le cœur de leurs concitoyens, les Lions indomptables du Cameroun doivent sortir vainqueurs à l'issue le 6 février de la Coupe d'Afrique des Nations qu'organise le Cameroun. C'est d'ailleurs l'une des motivations derrière l'intérêt que portent certains Camerounais à la compétition.
Nous attendons que du succès, du beau football et puis de l'ambiance. Oui, du beau football, de l'ambiance et gagner vraiment, remporter la victoire. Oui, c'est ça le plus important.
J'attends le meilleur d'eux. Le meilleur qu'ils puissent faire d'eux, j'attends le meilleur d'eux. Je ne peux pas dire premier, deuxième, bref. Ils n'ont qu'à faire le mieux qu'ils peuvent.
La victoire dans tous les matchs.
Donc vraiment, comme c'est venu à la maison depuis 72, on espère que comme c'est à la maison, ils pourront nous rendre fiers, comme nous ont toujours montré que non. Quand on compte sur eux, ils peuvent toujours nous montrer quelque chose de beau. Donc vraiment, c'est vrai que c'est une compétition pas facile. Tous les pays se valent, mais vraiment que le Cameroun sorte la Thierry lourde et laisse le trophée à la maison.
Grande nation de football, 5 fois championne d'Afrique, avec des noms qui résonnent sur tout le continent. Roger Mila, Samuel Eto'o-Fils, Patrick Mboma, Marc-Vivien Foé, pour ne citer que cela. Le peuple camerounais a toujours été un peuple passionné de football.
Parce que c'est un jeu qui me plaît et que moi-même j'ai exercé à ça. Et malheureusement, je n'ai pas eu la chance d'aller loin.
Quand c'est un événement vraiment que tous les Camerounais attendaient si bien, et ça nous intéresse tous. On attend vivement cette CAN. Oui, parce que les Camerounais, c'est les supporters numéro 1 du football.
Qui plus est, le fait de réunir toute l'Afrique pour cette grande messe du football n'est pas pour déplaire aux supporters, quand on sait que 24 équipes nationales africaines, soit 24 cultures, seront de la partie.
Une Coupe d'Afrique des Nations. Donc ça rend fier les jeunes africains de pouvoir montrer leur talent et de pouvoir s'exprimer aux yeux du monde, en particulier les jeunes Camerounais.
D'abord c'est une fête, comment on peut dire ça, une fête de la nation africaine, une fête pour tous les Camerounais, une fête pour tous les Africains. Comment ne pas être fier de la CAN? Moi, je suis très content de la CAN. Et vive le Cameroun, vive la CAN. Vive Samuel Eto'o, président de l'Africa Foot.
Cependant, en face, certains Camerounais préfèrent regarder toute cette effervescence de loin. Et pour cause, disent-ils, la situation du pays ne permet pas de se réjouir. Entre la vie qui devient de plus en plus chère, les difficultés liées à cet état et l'inégale répartition des fruits de la croissance, beaucoup ont du mal à rentrer dans l'euphorie de cette Coupe d'Afrique des Nations.
Ça va déjà dans ma vie. Comment ça comment? Quand on gagne pas, ça va chaque fois dans ma vie. Vous n'êtes pas Camerounais? Si, je suis Camerounais 100%. Parce qu'on a eu à gagner la compétition, ça va chaque fois au Cameroun. La vie devrait s'empirer de jour au lendemain. Si on gagne, ça va chaque quoi? Voilà qu'avant de gagner la prochaine la CAN, tout est encore. C'est comme si la CAN qui vient encore augmenter les choses au Cameroun. Les dernières de société. Parce qu'à la veille de la CAN, c'est là où tout a augmenté. Tout. Un ligue maintenant c'est 1500. Oh, avant la CAN c'était à 1200. En conclusion, la CAN est venue augmenter les choses au Cameroun. Donc ça m'intéresse à quoi? Je vais regarder les matchs à la télé juste pour regarder.
Il essaie juste de se cacher derrière l'événement et montrer le plus beau visage du Cameroun. Mais derrière ça, les Camerounais en eux-mêmes, ils souffrent beaucoup.
Rien ne m'intéresse là-bas parce que je n'ai personne pour moi qui joue là-bas. Moi aujourd'hui, c'est une place. L'histoire du pays, ça me fatigue dans tous les sens. Donc aujourd'hui, moi, je regarde ce qui peut... C'est un peu comme vous. Vous pouvez m'aider là directement. Vous pouvez me dire, voilà même 500, voilà même... Ou alors un bon conseil. Bon, eux là, je gagne quoi dedans? Hein? Puisque ceux qui font de façon forte, ce sont ceux qui ont les gens là-bas, qui ont les intérêts, hein? Dans tous les sens, vous comprenez un peu de quoi ils parlent. Alors, moi, je vais fêter sur quelle base? Bon, peut-être côté patriotisme, bon, je suis fier parce que c'est dans mon pays, mais dans le sens de la joie, ça, au mentir, je m'en fous de cette histoire. Je supporte juste parce que je suis patriotique, c'est dans mon pays. Et c'est pour ça que, quelque part, je suis fier parce qu'une fois, depuis 50 ans déjà, on n'a pas eu à faire. Alors, on a même été tellement forcé pour qu'on y arrive. Et alors, comme nous sommes donc arrivés, c'est un peu dans ce sens que je suis content. Dans ce sens, je précise bien. Mais en dehors de ça, rien ne m'intéresse là-bas.
On rappelle, le match d'ouverture se jouera ce dimanche au stade Olembe de Yaoundé. Cameroun, Burkina Faso, il sera 17h.
It will start right at 5 p.m. at the Olympic Stadium, Cameroon against Burkina Faso. Before we talk about the second match, because Cameroon against Burkina Faso will be the first match, and the second match is coming up with Cape Verde and Ethiopia. So I want you to tell me, Coach, or Mr. Fruit, what is your scoreline?
For the second game, right?
For the first game?
For the first game. 2-1 for Cameroon.
2-1 in favor of Cameroon. Now, you know, the group it's one of the most complicated groups, exactly. Because we have teams like Cape Verde, we have Ethiopia, we have Burkina Faso, we have Cameroon as well. So now, in the Ethiopia against Cape Verde game, what do you think? What do you make of this encounter?
Yeah, first of all, it's going to be a game between two rising squads in Africa. You have the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde, who will be in their third participation. I know the last time they with the best records being in 2013 when they were eliminated at the quarterfinal level. And you have a coach in the like of Coach Bobby Star, who masters the squad well. And when you look at the squad, you have a handful of players who play in Portugal, in many big squads. You have Gary Mendes Rodriguez, who plays for Olympiacos in Greece. You have Ryan Isaac Mendes, Da Garcia, who plays for Al Nasri in United Arab Emirates. You have Marco Suarez, who plays for Aruca in Portugal. There are many others, who play for big squads. And remember, the Blue Sharks have been used to pulling down big squads, and they're used to playing in Cameroon, again in Yaoundé. The last game they played in Cameroon was a goalless tie against mighty Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. So it's moral boosting when you bring down Cameroon and then you're meeting other squads like the Warriors of Ethiopia. And they know so well that that Burkina Faso and Cameroon are bigger squads. They need to negotiate it well today against the Warriors of Ethiopia. If not, they will be in trouble. And they are determined in going to the next phase of the competition. And when it passes through beating Ethiopia today and then and in negotiating well against Burkina Faso and Cameroon. Again, you have Ethiopia, the Warriors of Ethiopia, who will be participating for the 11th time in the competition. Remember, they were present in the first ever edition, that was in 1957, when you had Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia. Those were three nations that were focused on hosting and all those things. And they won the 1962 edition. And coming coach Ubetu Abate is coming to Yaoundé with a colony of home-based players, that are used to playing together. Remember, they were the first to get in on Cameroon soil. And before they got into Cameroon, they had held, camps here and there where the players came together and they got used to the tactical organization and others set up by Coach Ubetu Abate. It's going to be a complicated team. And remember, they beat the Black Stars of Ghana during the qualifiers on home soil. Beating Ghana is moral boosting, and they equally know that Cape Verde remains one of the less rated squad in that group, and the most negotiated well against Cape Verde. If not, it's going to be complicated against host nation Cameroon and 5-time champions of Cameroon, and against the Stallions of Burkina Faso led by Bertrand Traoré. It's going to be an interesting game, however, and it goes on by negotiating well for a start. When you start something well, you equally have hopes ending it well.
Indeed. Now, before we end the program, I would like you to tell me, from your own point of view, which two teams will be making it out of Group A?
Probably Cameroon and Burkina Faso.
Oh, so okay. Then Cape Verde, because I know they are a very strong side, Cape Verde,
That's right.
and so they might finish the best third.
The best third.
Okay,
The best
then...
third. Be careful, Ethiopia. Coach Abate Ubeto has his word to say, and he said it when he came into Cameroon that they should watch out. And he said he was coming to beat Cameroon. Everybody who comes in says, I'm coming to beat Cameroon. So all the games we're going to play are going to be finals. Coach Tony Conceição and boys should watch out. So we say over the years, Cameroon has created so many enemies because obviously winning 5 times. The AFCON, when you're Olympic gold medalist, over 7 times at the World Cup, winning, playing the final of the Confederation Cup, every squad that comes to play against you gets set, gets prepared. And when you know that you have a Cameroon that knows how to play the big games, you don't come joking with Cameroon. You come prepared to play against Cameroon. Indeed, it will be happening at the Olembe Stadium. Cameroon, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon, will lock horns with the Stallions of Burkina Faso at 5 p.m. today, and the Walia Ibex of Ethiopia will take on the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde later today. We will be recording the first win in this edition, the 33rd edition of the TotalEnergies African Cup of Nations. You just need to stand by, wait, and throw support to the best team. May the best man win. So we hope to see you again through tomorrow, because we will be talking about the encounters that will be happening today, get some fan reactions. So make sure you tune in on Spectrum Television at exactly 11:30 a.m. right up to 12:30 p.m. because we have exciting packages for your viewing pleasure. Let the AFCON begin in Cameroon. Have a wonderful Sunday.